Okay, so today I'm explaining why our brains forget other people's names, or short term, anyways, is when we forget their names after being told them. Reason why? They are labels that we do not remember, and they don't have any association. But also, our brains are going to go into a certain type of mode called super social detective mode, which is a type of, I guess, mode. It's not really a mode, but is just something that is observable in people. Is we look at someone, or when we're in conversation with someone, we analyze their body, or body figure, not figure, but body language and facial language and tone in their voice. If they're hostile, friendly, if they have some underlying meaning to behind what they're saying, or if they gesticulate, if they move, that is something that's interesting, and we're going to focus more in on that than we are going to focus on a name, because the name is just a label with no association or meaning behind it yet. And so we're just going to forget it then. But if we repeat it, and that's something we can do, is we're going to remember it. Remember that name or have that association connected to that person. Either it's going to be positive, negative, or neutral most of the time. And yeah, there is one more problem in this whole thing. Our brains are under some, or when our brains are under some pressure during introductions, we want to be on our best behavior, look and act, the best we can, and not be so dismissive, or not dismissive, but kind of like, just not worth talking to. Just like, I think you understand what I'm saying here. I don't know what I'm saying. My apologies. But yeah. Because we want to be on our best behavior. We think about what we say next, so we don't sound rude. We try not to sound rude. We try, because we're social people, we try to build more relationships with others. And so if we come off bad, if we come off awkward, we come off, hesitant, that person's gonna have a different perception of you in the long run, or even short term. If I was introducing myself to you and I stuttered, you're gonna think, oh, I'm a nervous person, I'm an anxious person, right? That's a very little example here, but so that moment we're talking to this person, it's not going to be super indicative of our behavior. If we forget their name, is what I'm meaning. It's just a natural reaction. Everyone does it. We aren't going to remember that name at that moment. If you do, you do. But outside of that, there are a few exceptions, right? Especially if they're so important, there's a lot more stress. Like, you're meeting someone, like, say if you're like a conference or whatever, you're speaking to someone who's like a CEO, a president of whatever firm, or whatever, like, or head of a board. It's gonna be harder for you to memorize their name, and how, because you're both stressed out because you have someone that has a lot of power in a position who you want to try to social network with, and you're just gonna be stressed out. So you're not gonna remember that, or perhaps you will, because you are in such a social situation where you want to memorize that person's name. But forgetting is very normal. I think I've already overstated that by now, but my apologies. So firstly, just don't be shy, don't be nervous. So I think I said this already, but what you can do is like for example, if someone you're talking to someone, oh, my name is Tyler, I'm talking to someone, her name is Sarah, I say, well, it's nice to meet you, Sarah, instead of just nice to meet you. It's so that you keep that association, you can build that foundation and remember that person quite well. Coming up with associations also help, like, oh, Sarah has brown hair, or she usually wears something with floral patterns. Are you gonna memorize, oh, when I see 4 parents, I'm gonna think, oh, that's Sarah, or that's gonna be whoever else, you know? Like, oh, this person wears boots all the time. Oh, okay, I'm gonna associate John, you know, Joe, or John Doe, you know? John is gonna be associated with he wears boots. Alright, I'm gonna memorize that, you know? Thirdly, it is really good if you can use their name, and once more before the conversation is over, it provides the brain with another chance to be sure of it, you know? Because I've I've done that a couple of times. I remember I had a person go over recently. They were walking up the stairs, and I was like, you, I forgot your name, I'm so sorry. You know, it's just super awkward. But the point I want to make the most here, like, drill that in, is the reason we forget our names is not because we're rude. We're not trying to be careless, you know. And I feel like that's kind of like a common feeling of like, oh, you forgot my name. I kind of don't like you anymore, you know. It's kind of rude, but yeah, no. But our brains are very busy. We're always thinking. We're always doing something that requires more power, you know, for us to be able to understand fully. Like, because you're trying to memorize a bunch of things about this person, like trying to memorize things they like, things they don't like, instead of their name. Because in that moment, you're not going to think that. You're not going to remember that. You don't have that full association just yet. Especially during first introductions. My apologies. The good part of it is with a little practice, or not practice, but like a little bit of attention on a couple, you know, simple strategies, I guess you could say. Simple ways to memorize a person's name or have associations. You know, use it a couple of times throughout that conversation. Like, Sarah, you know, or, you know, Sarah, you like this or that, or do you not like that, or, you know, stuff like that. Or, you know, goodbye, Sarah, or it was nice to meet you, Sarah, or nice to meet you, Sarah, my name's such and such, you know. And then maybe they'll do the same thing to you because you're doing that to them. So that they're going to build, because people like to build off of each other. And they like to copy and mimic. Because it's kind of like the monkey see, monkey do thing. You know, it's a habit. Or like whenever you say thank you, and then like your brother or your sister says thank you to, you know, your parent, your mother, your father, grandma and grandpa, something like that. You know, after dinner or before dinner or for dinner. It's like, oh, thank you, Dad, for making dinner, or thank you, Dad, for making that plate for me. And then your brother or sister goes and does the same thing, you know, oh, thank you, Dad, you know, because they're copying your manners, the way you're speaking, the way you're acting. It's because they build off of you. But like, go for anyone else, you know. But otherwise, I think that's all I have to say. Kind of 8 minutes. That's a little long. My apologies.